Alrighty, that sums up decimals, and now we're going to move on to percentages. So I want you to read 411 to 412 and try problems 1, 6, 13, 19, 23, and 28. Alright, now looking at percentages, I asked you to do a couple of the problems. The first one is number 1, and it reads, find 3% of 80. So the main thing is of means multiplication. So anytime you see of, that means that you're going to take 3% and multiply it by 80. So the first thing we have to do is 3%. We need to change it into a number that we can multiply by 80. Now, 3% is also the same as saying 3 over 100. So when you divide by 100, it just moves your decimal over 2 spots. With it being 3%, the understood decimal spot is after the whole number here. So if you shift it over, you have 2 zeros, so let's shift it over 2 times. 1, 2. It leaves you with 0.03. So this is the same number written as this number. It's just written as a decimal. And now we can multiply. You have 0.03 of 80, so multiplied by 80. Okay, we'll rewrite it. 0.03. And let's multiply. Remember, we're not going to have to line up our decimals when we multiply. We'll figure it out when we get the answer. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 8 is 24. Okay? And then we can multiply the zeros here if you want to, but you really don't have to because it's just going to be zeros all the way at the bottom. So this will be our answer. We just need to figure out where the decimal goes. So if we remember when I talked about multiplying decimals in the previous section, we just counted behind the decimal, and that's going to tell us where to put our decimal within our answer. We have 2 spaces behind the decimals here, none here because 80 is the whole number. So we count from the right to the left, 1, 2, and that's where our decimal will be. So our answer should be 2.4, which is selection B. All right, the next problem I asked you to do is a word problem, and I just wanted y'all to get familiar with word problems and not be scared of them. Basically, you're going to write down what you know from the problem, and then we'll go from there. So number 6 reads 48%. So the first line says 48%. We'll go ahead and write this up here. 48%. Our magic word of the 1,200 students at Central High are males. So of is multiplication, and there's 1,200 students at Central High. And they're saying that they're males. So the next line says, how many male students are there at Central High? So 48% of 1,200 is what we're going to do, and that will give us our answer as to how many males attend this high school. Okay? 48 is, we're going to have to write as a decimal. If we divide by 100, we move our decimal over 2 spots, 1, 2, leaving us with the number 0.48. Then we're going to multiply that by 1,200 to get our answer. So we have 1,200 multiplied by 0.48, and let's work it out. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 2 is 16. Carry your 1. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Then we add our 0, and we multiply. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times 1 is 4. And then we'll add. 0 plus 0 is 0. Same thing here. 6 plus 0 is 6. 9 plus 8 is 17. Carry your 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. Now, we still have to place our decimal. Here, we have 2 numbers behind the decimal, 1, 2. So we look at our answer and count from the right to the left 2 spaces, 1, 2, and insert our decimal. Our number is 576. So 576 of the students at Central High are males. Now, if they asked you how many of the students are females, then you would just subtract 576 from 1,200 to get the number of females. Okay, moving right along. We did number 13, and this deals with changing percents to fractions. Okay. Number 13 says, what is 200% written as a fraction? Percentages are ratios, so all you have to do is write the ratio. 200 over 100. When you reduce this, pretty simple, this marks out, and you're left with 2 over 1. And now, that would normally read 2, but it's asking you to put it as a fraction. So 2 over 1 is your answer, and that is selection B. Just remember that percentages are a ratio, so you write it over 100, reduce, and that will give you the fraction. Moving on to changing fractions to percents. So let's do number 19. Now we're going to work backwards. So what is 45 over 50 written as a percent? Now, the way I do this is it is a ratio. So 45 over 50 equals what percent? And that's what you're trying to find out. From here, we'll cross multiply and solve for n, and that will give us our answer. So you do 45 times 100, which is just 45, add your 2 zeros, equals 50n. Okay, from here, to isolate n by itself, you have to divide both sides by 50. 50 here, divided by 50 here, and let's solve. 50 will go into 4,500 90 times. And that gives us our answer, 90%, which is selection C. The next problem will be changing percents to decimals, which is number 23 is what we did. So let's look at number 23. This says 8%. What is 8% written as a decimal? We have 8%. Again, it is a ratio, so you can write it 8 over 100. But when you're dividing by 100, you move your decimal over 2 slots because of the 2 zeros, and it will go to the left. So you go 1, 2, and your answer will be 0.08, which is selection C. Pretty simple. Now we're going to work it the other way. Let's change our decimal to percents. So let's look at number 28. 28 is pretty much the same problem that we just did, just working it the other way. So 28 says, what is 0.08 written as a percent? Now you notice when we divided, the decimal shifted to the left. When you're going to change it back to a percent, you're going to multiply by 100. And all it does is shift the decimal to the right. So you'll go over 2 spots, 1, 2, and you're left with 8%. Pretty simple.